Welcome back to Detroit Next, the podcast that's all about the Detroit 2025 municipal elections. I'm Bryce Huffman with Bridge Detroit, joined by City Council candidate Denzel McCampbell. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Bryce.
All right, you are running to represent District 7. So before we get into District 7 specific questions, Malachi Barrett, who covers City Hall for us, wanted me to ask all the candidates a really simple but kind of difficult to answer question. Who should be City Council president?
Oh wow. That I haven't had a chance to think about that really. Uh I think no matter who it is, what city council president, will know who is at play once the new council is seated. But I think it's someone that should be able to not only guide the council through the agenda, but also help us set and lead a legislative agenda for folks in the city of Detroit. One, to make sure that we are upholding the powers that we have on Detroit City Council, the powers that our charter has afforded us to truly be that co-equal branch of government. Detroit does have a strong mayor system, but we need to make sure that the city council is carrying out the power that the citizens of Detroit have given us. So I don't have right now a choice for Detroit City Council president, but that's what I'll be looking for when the time comes.
All right. So let's talk about District 7, far west side, bordering up against Dearborn. What are some of the bigger issues facing District 7 that you hope to or that you hope to address through the legislative branch?
Yeah, so there's a number of issues that have come up, and we've knocked over 20,000 doors here in District 7, made tens of thousands of phone calls, been really carrying out a direct voter contact campaign, trying to make sure that we are listening to folks, hearing from our neighbors, and sharing a vision for folks. And what we hear constantly is we have a lot of children in the district, and parents, grandparents, caregivers, they want to make sure that our kids have something to do, and that they have before and after school programs, recreation programs, not only a rec center, but actually giving more focus and resources to the folks who are already doing that work, like the Cody Rouge Action Alliance, the Burwood House, the Moja Debate Club, and the Moja Village. Those are folks that are doing this work, and we need to expand that in District 7. Affordable housing has come up, not only getting folks into home ownership, but making sure that we're taking care of the folks who are already in homes. Our seniors, making sure that they can age in place and age gracefully, making sure that renters aren't being taken advantage of folks who are just buying up homes and letting them go dilapidated. Making sure that we're having a focus that we're building homes, that we're keeping people in their homes, that we're remodeling homes and renovating homes as much as possible, and also that we're making things more affordable in the district. And the way I look at that is not only bringing and thinking about how do we make sure that we are investing in clean energy here in the city so utility bills can go down, but also that we have fresh food and affordable fresh food options in the district that folks don't have to go to another district or another city to get that healthcare facilities and pharmacies, affordable places just to grab a cup of coffee or a meal with and building our community. And then, of course, public safety comes up a lot. Public safety is a concern across the city. And we have been fortunate to have impacted by community violence intervention groups. We've seen the data that has led to a drop in harm and violence here in District 7 across the city. So I would be looking to make sure that that is funded, but also that they have access to really a government of a whole approach, that if somebody needs housing to get out of a violent situation, that we're able to help provide that transportation, jobs, skilled trades training, and really taking care of mental health issues that we have in the city with more programs for mental health and breaking down the stigma as well. So that was a lot, but those are just some of the things that have come up as we're talking to folks.
All right. So I guess I'll start with public safety since that's kind of the last thing you touched on in a big way. That's been an issue for forever in Detroit, unfortunately. What does that look like, particularly in District 7, that you think you are uniquely positioned to kind of help solve?
You're right that it has been an issue for a while, and what I've talked to folks about is that we have to really get to the preventative side and invest in our neighborhoods, invest in our people to increase public safety. We know in neighborhoods when you have more education, when you have more opportunities for good paying jobs, when you have more health care, whether it's physical or mental health care, when you have more activity and things for folks to do in these neighborhoods, we see public safety increase and we see crime go down. And that's really what I want to focus on. I talk about young people. We need more mentorship programs. I bring this up all the time. During the summer, when there was the unfortunate events that happened with some of our young folks, there was a Free Press article, and there was a young boy in an article that said, I got into a mentorship program, and then I saw what else was out there for me, a positive outlook. And that's what we have to provide to our young people. We have to bring folks together for mentorship. We have to have before and after school programs. And we have to increase skilled trades and college readiness programs. And I also look at equitable development as a way to address this as well, not just giving blank checks to developers to build downtown, but really looking at the city's leverage and resources to say, what do we need in our districts to take care of the needs of folks and our neighbors? And how do we make sure that those are good paying and union jobs that folks can have a career out of as well? So I think all of those go into increase in public safety, and one that we have to look for on the preventive side to really make our neighborhoods well resourced and safe.
All right. What does that look like for you when it comes to engaging young people? You know, people that are too young to vote, but definitely old enough to find themselves in some troublesome situations from time to time. What does it look like for District 7 residents and communities to really be reaching out to youth and building those bridges?
I think one, we don't need to create the wheel, right? I think so often that we bring folks, we get consultants, we get folks to say, what does this youth program look like? But there are already folks that are doing this work in District 7. There are, like I named, the Moja Village, the Cody Rouge Action Alliance, Burwood House, and many other folks. And they're, the Betterment Outreach are also close to D7 doing work. There are folks that are already doing that, so we have to really partner with those folks that are saying they're already meeting with young people. We have to be inside our schools. We have to partner in a way. I tell folks that the Detroit Charter says that the city government must be a partner with our education districts and our schools. And that's one way that we can do so is that we are being inside schools, that we have them before and after school programs, and actually listen to young people on what they actually need to see and what they want to see. Um, and also, like, if they want to get into fields such as tech, right? So many of our young folks are on social media, playing games, anything like that. We can turn that into really a skill set for folks to have a great future. So I think it really starts with listening to folks and meeting our young folks where they are. Through door knocking, through being out in the streets where they are, through being in the classrooms, and really listen to them and creating services and programs around that.
All right. Uh, So you're not on council currently, but I'm sure you pay attention to city council. How would
Mhm.
you evaluate the relationship it has with Mayor Mike Duggan? You mentioned earlier that we do have a strong mayor city, but that doesn't mean city council has no power and no authority. How would you evaluate their working relationship, and what do you want to see out of the next mayoral administration if you're on council?
I think there's been instances when you've seen members of the council, of course, be in agreement with the administration, and you've seen folks push back. I think time and time again, you've seen both of that happens. I would say that, as we're going into this, a new administration, a new a few new folks on council that would be there, and also this era where we no longer have ARPA dollars, and we get further away from bankruptcy. I really think we can be doing more to be using the power of city council to really be bringing the voices from our districts, from the city, and being a legislative body and pushing forth policies and ordinances that really speak to what we're hearing around and being true partners with the administration, actually absolutely working together in things and initiatives that align with what we're hearing on the ground, but also being that checks and balance if we see something that is not working as outlined what we're hearing from our residents. I think at the end of the day, both the mayor and our city council, we have the same voters, right? It is not that we're getting different folks and having to listen to different people. And we have to make sure that we're a city council that will be using that power, and using our voices and using the platform that we have to make sure we're delivering for folks. So I think we can be doing that a little bit more. I don't want to put too much on the current city council because I know it's a different era that we would be going into, but that's something I'll be look to be doing if I'm on the city council.
All right. So let's talk about the relationships you already have in city government,
Mhm.
because obviously you have to know the way the different parts of city government interact with one another. Uh, what are some departments that you have strong relationships with that you'll be looking to work closely with on council?
For sure, that's a great question. For in this iteration, I've been working very closely with the departments of neighborhoods and our district manager and deputy manager, and really other issues that I've seen on the ground as I'm door knocking. They've been great to take those issues and work on that as well. I think what I would want to see more, and really when it comes to constituent services, is making sure we have a strong constituent service team in our office. And I believe the D7 current office has very strong constituent services folks that I've been working closely with as well. Um, the ombudsman office has been folks that I have great respect for because I think that's another place where that transparency and accountability comes from. Um, I have had various interactions with various members of departments as a Detroit Charter Revision Commission, especially around public health and safety with the health department, the transportation department, and the Board of Police Commissioners. I see the NPOs around the district all the time as well. So uh, I have had a good rapport with folks across the department. I understand the jobs that folks have and the role that they play, and the role that the city council plays. And what I tell folks is that I really want to make sure that I'm not only getting that information to department heads and the administration and various folks that what we're hearing on the ground, District 7, to make sure that those issues are answered, but also getting that information down to our residents, right? And one thing that I propose is really getting back to the model of a neighborhood city hall here in Detroit that we had in the earlier days that folks can go to, in their neighborhoods, whether it's a recreation center or a community center, and get answers from various departments. I know folks do that currently, some departments do that currently, but I really want to see that more in a robust way that folks don't have to go downtown. So it will take having to build those relationships even further with departments, but I believe that I have a good rapport with folks already, and especially current members on the council as well. I'm proud to be endorsed by Councilwoman Santiago Romero and Councilwoman Johnson, and we're going to continue to work on those relationships as well.
All right. So let's shift gears just a little bit and talk about the mayor's race. Obviously, I'm not going to ask you to pick a candidate or even really evaluate the two, but whoever wins is going to have a really difficult time when it comes to resources. The federal
Mhm.
government was a huge help to the Duggan administration, and we're probably not going to get that help. What sorts of things is city council tasked with or responsible for when it comes to getting resources into neighborhoods? And how do you plan to do that for District 7?
City council, the mayor will present their budget to city council, and we will have to deliberate that budget. And I think the role that city council has to play and must play is that really stripping down every piece of the budget and making sure that it is impacting folks in our neighborhoods, making sure that it's being delivered in a way that works best and what we've heard from our residents. And I think that's the true role that we should be playing is as we're at the table, deliberating between colleagues and the administration to say, hey, this may not work in a way that we're thinking about because I heard X, Y, and Z. Have you heard the same thing in your district? What is the mayor administration hearing from their department heads? And really down to the dime, right? To make sure that it's going to the places that's improving quality of life. I think we're going to have to be very, with a magnifying glass looking into those things because you're right. Their resources may be more limited. So I think that's the role that we will have to play in the budgetary conversation as we work towards a budget that will really deliver for people. We're going to have conversations about equitable revenue streams, making sure that we do have the appropriate revenue coming in and looking at ways that we're not overtaxing or creating more of a burden for folks who are already paying high taxes, but where can we get other revenue from, especially in the things that we've seen. I am interested in exploring more of the entertainment tax that has been floated as well. But I also will say that we can't leave it to that, that the state and federal government won't kick in. And I think one thing that we can be doing more of together as a city council and a mayoral administration is one, working with the Detroit Legislative Caucus to say we need these dollars to come down from the state, that Detroit is the largest city in the state. And the better off that Detroit is, the better off the rest of the state is. So we need those resources to come down from Lansing and not leaving our federal government out as well. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, like, and that's something that I bring to the table that I know the appropriations process on both the state and federal level. I worked as a communications director in a congressional office. That is something I can bring to the table and something to help bring my colleagues together to say we are a united front and reaching out to every part of the congressional delegation to say in the appropriation process, we need to see these funds come to the state and come to Detroit.
All right. Uh, when you think about whoever wins this next mayor's race, what are some things that you think they need to have to kind of guide the city through a period where we might not have the resources we've had for the last 8 years?
I think the next mayor has to be able to bring folks to the table and work in a collaborative way. And that includes with the Detroit City Council. We will be, we have to face these challenges together if we want to get to an equitable solution that helps as many people as possible. And we won't be able to do that if we're working in silos, if we're working from a place um, that if one person says something that's go, that is what goes. I understand that the roles that again that our charter conveys to the mayor and that the charter conveys to the Detroit City Council, and that's to be respected. But if we're gonna make sure that Detroit is on the right path and really delivering, especially for neighborhoods, we're gonna have to work in a collaborative way and be open to the voices and taking in all the voices at the table.
All right. Let's switch gears. You mentioned the tax burden. One of the biggest burdens that Detroiters have complained about for a good chunk of my lifetime is property taxes. What can be done to address the property tax issue here? And before you answer, could you actually just kind of explain the way in which that does hold us at back as a city?
Yeah, and I want to be clear when we talk about taxes, right? A city needs tax revenue to run, right? A city depends on tax revenue to carry out the services that we talked about, the programs that we talked about. And what we constantly hear, though, with a combination of folks being over the overassessment, which has led to higher taxes, a combination of new homes being built, and it's a great thing that folks are moving in and buying homes or homes being purchased, but that increases the taxes on folks in the neighborhood. The uncapping of taxes when folks are buying homes. There are so many things that has led to this. We still have a city that is deeply impoverished. So a lot of folks do not know about the homeowners property exemption program, which gives a discount on property taxes. A lot of those are becoming barriers to folks that just don't have the means to be able to pay their taxes. And then they will look to move out the city where on paper it is cheaper to live, but in exchange they're giving up home ownership, for example, or the combination of utility rates going up because we have an unaccountable private monopoly in DTE, right, that continues to raise our rates. All of these have to be taken into account when we're thinking about how our residents are impacted. And what I'll be looking towards on the city council is how do we make that more equitable for folks? How do we make sure the folks who aren't able to pay on property taxes because they don't make enough money, how do we make sure that they are in the HOPE program? How do we look at other ways across the city, as I mentioned, like an entertainment tax or other ways to shift maybe some of that revenue stream to somewhere else that we can decrease property taxes in certain places? I'm open to all those things, but I also, again, I want to make sure that we're looking at um, revenue and taxes in a way that we are still able to fund the necessary services and the programs that our residents need, while we're making sure that folks aren't priced out of living in Detroit.
All right. I keep hearing people say that a lot of the things that council candidates and mayoral candidates have kind of been saying that they want to do requires either a lot of help from the state government or a lot of help from philanthropy. Uh, where do we get that help if those two places are not as willing to kind of step up their investment here?
Yeah, I think first we have to look at our own budget and see where are the places that we can, where are places that need to be adjusted. I think, I've been someone that has constantly talked about tax abatements, that have come to this city. I think we have to have a different focus on those tax abatements. We have to have a different focus on community benefits and what are we demanding when public dollars are going to these projects. I think that's one area that we can look towards. We have to again strip down the budget to make sure that it is going to appropriate place and that we're using the resources as best as possible. Uh, those are things that we have to look at as well. We have to bring folks to the table. I will say that I don't think it will be long term that this help doesn't come from the federal government or doesn't come from philanthropy. I will say that we are in a very extraordinary place and with the things that are going on. But I would be looking to be innovative and bringing as many people to the table as possible. Maybe even looking at how can we look at, when there's innovative programs, how can we do something with the county, right? Or like looking at other levels of government that may be there. How can we do something with neighboring cities that may, and this is not, I want to make it clear, I'm not saying combining services. What I'm saying is that when we're thinking about youth programming and before and after schools, is there something that we can do with a neighboring city or community that can help also our folks as well? So I think we have to be innovative in a way, and but at the bottom line is that I want to make sure that we do as much as possible to not cut services, to not cut the resources that folks deserve, and I think that's should be the starting point for myself and colleagues and administration.
All right. And then just one last question. Could you just briefly list out what your top three priorities would be if elected for, the next calendar year and some specific things that you hope to do to address those three priorities?
For sure. So when it comes to, I'll just touch on the buckets that I touch on public safety. I would be looking to make sure that there is a permanent stream of funding for community violence intervention programs and invest in more mental health programming for at least our health department to do as much as that initial intake as possible. And then working with, seeing if we can work with mental health providers across the city to make sure we're doing more in our districts, to again break down that stigma and deliver the care that folks need where they are. When it comes to youth programming, uh, really working with the recreation department to see how do more before and after school programs. The mentorship program, Pro Tem Tate has a great mentorship program that he has in District 1 and has done across the city, but really wanted to expand that in District 7. And that really doesn't take a lot of resources. It takes bringing people that are already doing that work to the table there. And when it comes to housing, making sure we're getting as many folks as possible into the HOPE program that they can, make sure that they are paying the right amount of taxes, and doing more to one, make sure folks are and expanding. Again, I know we need resources for this, but the down payment assistance program for folks to get into home ownership, and also making sure that we are looking at our planning and zoning and our ordinance to make sure that innovative ways of affordable home ownership and affordable housing such as community land trust is actually doable and thriving here in the city of Detroit. So those are three areas that initially I'll be looking for in that first year.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Denzel, and good luck
Thank
out
you.
there.
Appreciate you. Thank you, Bryce.